Hello and welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust is the best way for you to exit highly appreciated real estate, save a failed 1031 exchange, exit cryptocurrency, a business, defer millions of tax so you can create and preserve more wealth. Hey, I'm your host, Brett Swarts. In each episode, I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial, crypto, leadership, business, and sometimes data minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. We're also streaming on expertcresecrets.com as well. And yes, and so I want to introduce you. I'm excited to introduce to you my new friend. In fact, we were down at the IIREC conference in Manhattan Beach with a guy named Hunter Thompson, who puts on an amazing conference, and I had the privilege to speak on a panel, and then he was speaking on another panel. And so I said, we got to have him on the podcast because his insights were spot on. And so our next guest is the VP of Market Insights for Property Radar, where he tackles insights into public records data to help Main Street small businesses disrupt disruptors. He's also the co-hosting the Data Driven Real Estate podcast. It's on hold right now, but you can catch him speaking and writing nationally on topics such as technology and its impacts on real estate, as well as catch his contributions on Forbes.com, Bigger Pockets, and Think Realty magazine, to name a few. Please welcome to the show with me, Aaron Norris. Hey, Aaron, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
For our listeners getting to know you for the first time, and give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus.
Started flipping at 5, doing flips with my father, Bruce Norris, for about, a quarter of an hour of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, as I like to say. After high school, I decided to live a dream and go to New York City. I was a professional performer, got to tour the world. 04, moved back because mom had stage 4 cancer, and family was first, and got really lucky. I was a gymnast and a dancer as well, and my body fell apart. And luckily in New York, I focused on acquisition and merger presentations at a Wall Street company and learned I loved it. Eventually, I ended up falling into the family business of real estate investing. My father, Bruce Norris, is best known for market timing. So I helped him with the report in '06 called The California Crash, getting investors out of the state of California. It's a 400-page book with 800 charts of where we were going and why. And luckily, that saved a lot of people's bacon, and then we got them back in the market in '09. So I've been a hard money lender in California and now Florida for a long time. And I met Sean O'Toole, Property Radar CEO, many years ago at our event we could put together called I Survive Real Estate. At the fundraising event we do for Make-A-Wish in St. Jude, we've raised over $1 million. And he's been part of the panel, and I've gotten to know him. And as a longtime user of the product, a couple of years ago, I wanted to live another dream, work in technology, and here I am. It's been great.
Amazing. We're going to be talking about discovering off-market real estate opportunities, so you can find some good deals, especially in a very tight marketplace, and kind of the secrets to doing that using Property Radar, which is going to be really cool. But before we go there, Aaron, I want to take one other step back. I want you to go back to perhaps your high school days, your younger days. And, I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life, and these gifts have been given to us to be a blessing and help to others. So I'm curious, what do you think those one or two gifts that you've been given, or strengths, some people call them, what are they, and how does that help how you help and bless people today?
It's so interesting you act that. You are the only podcast that has asked that question, and one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is not thinking they can be themselves and bring themselves to this business and be successful and help other people. It's the number one mistake, actually. It's not how to do the business. It's this. My skill set is I'm great with people. I love people. I love giving back. Real estate has changed my family's trajectory. My dad got married at 17, had 2 kids by the time he was 8, and was on food stamps for a while. He did not come from much, so he has a great story, and real estate changed our life. So a people person, and a lot of hard work. I'm not afraid to read boring bills and find the data in the details, and find where opportunity lies, and share that with my network to create more wealth and build legacy, which is important.
Absolutely. Love that. Great with people and hard work, data driven, diving into the details to find that diamond in the rough. So, which is perfect for what we're talking about today. Like, could you imagine? He's the VP of Property Radar, right? All these different things, right? Like, so data insights. And so Aaron, what is the number one secret to unlocking off-market deals? And of course, you could be applying Property Radar, which is so amazing. If you don't know what that is, go to propertyradar.com. But talk about that number one secret of uncovering these deals.
What's funny is you didn't even mean to. You set me up. So we don't have to have the conversation of bringing yourself to the party. If you're an introvert and I start telling you you should be door knocking people that you don't know, you die a little inside, right? So the idea is
True.
bringing yourself to the business and we find you strategies and then back you up with the data. So if you love development, there's data on there. If you don't mind door knocking and you're a people person, very sales oriented, door knocking doesn't scare you. So it just really depends. And depending on what you want to do, we're going to back you up with the data to find it. I think where you're not going to find deals in the next couple of years that everybody wants to talk about, and there's so many clickbait articles, is foreclosure. I think you're going to be disappointed and you're going to be spinning your wheels, hitting leads that are hit up a lot that aren't going to amount for much. The quickest way I can say this is we have the playbook of how to help people stay in their homes when their property values go down by half. We've done that in 2008. So if we can do that, do you think any politician during a pandemic and possibly a war for the next number of years is going to allow a wave of foreclosures to happen? Probably not.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's understanding the reality, right? Not thinking that it's just because it happened in 2008 that's going to happen again. In fact, all the data is saying it's not going to be that way, right?
Yeah.
You got to take the emotions out of, I just got to wait for all these crazy prices that keep going higher for the closures. And then number two, you said bring in your best self or bring in yourself to the business. And so figuring out how to use the tools to unlock the data to be able to, be more efficient in what you're doing, like whether that be door knocking, whether that be development, whether that be maybe direct mailers, whether that be cold calling. Is that a fair summary so far?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with Property Radar for those that are using it best. All right, so maybe the top users. Let's just do like a real estate professional, right? And they're looking for either to unlock new listings, or they're looking, start with that one. Like, how are the best using that? Are they hiring assistants to go mine the data inside of Property Radar? Give us kind of that play by play. Like, hey, I want to become number one in this zip code or this product type. Let's use multifamily Sacramento, for example, because that's part of my specialty. Okay. What would you say, Aaron?
Multifam. Okay. I'm gonna start basic. I'm gonna go super nerdy on you. So the people that are scaling most successfully are integrating with a lot of different technology, and they're automating a lot. One of our biggest users end up being the Philippines. Virtual assistants, oddly enough. So yes, investors who are focused on scale are definitely integrating a lot of automation and integration. Property Radar connects with Zapier, which of course connects to over 4,000 productivity and marketing tools. And what people don't know is that in Property Radar, you can set up dynamic lists. So say you're focused on multifamily, 2 to 4 in Sacramento, and you've added demographics on top of that. You only want to talk to owners who have are over the age of 65. And let's say we also want to stack sales data on top of that and say, hey, we only want to talk to them if they've owned for over 20 years. You're more tax focused. So we know by that time they're thinking about, man, I'm about to run out of my tax benefits for this. I'm, 27 and a half years. I'm tired of being a landlord. That's an interesting conversation because you, as the investor wanting that, could end up talking about seller financing. You can talk about buying a portfolio instead of just one. Lots of different opportunities there, but that's what they're doing. And then when you create that list, because there's data on the sales side, 20 years plus, or the demographic side, 65 plus, when somebody new comes into that list, it's automatically updated, and you can decide whether you get an email or that gets pushed to your favorite tools that then launches a workflow. Maybe you want them to receive a one-off piece of mail. That can be automated. You don't even have to think about that. They already match your perfect criteria. Then a week later, they get an email. And then maybe you get a reminder after they've received a few different contacts from you, you actually call them. So SMS marketing, there's so many different ways to do it, including lookalike audiences in Facebook and Google if you're doing digital ads. So I'm so glad we started with who you are. I have very successful, very sophisticated investors that are so good on the phone. That's all they do. They call. We're talking about advanced strategies, just throwing it all on the table, but don't think you have to do all or any of those things. But the most advanced are tending to do a little bit of more automation these days.
Okay, so I got that, because that's incredible, right? Because when I started at Marcus and Millichap, it was, you are mining like Excel spreadsheets and you are mining like LLC, the government websites, and you are cold calling random numbers that are either working or not working or whatever. And it's just like this tedious, painstaking process. And what I think what you're saying, Aaron, is a lot of that's already been done for you. And I'm sure those are pretty clean lists. B, not only that, but then you can say it has even more data that perhaps would be very difficult to find. And then I guess C would be it starts to automate it on the back end. Like how do you want to interact with the people? And then as these things are changing in the background in real time, it kicks it to the list and kicks it to the workflow. Is that a fair summary so far?
It is. I mean, when's the last time? I mean, I've owned rentals for a long time, and it makes me laugh. One particular example is an investor was marketing to me on a property I haven't owned for 2 years, and oddly enough, it's sold again. So he's got ownership details that are 2 years old, and he's wasting money. He or she. I think it was a he. But yeah, the property radar is updated in some areas like every day. So having that updated information and lists that stay updated with people that come into the list and come off the list automatically because it's sold, that kind of stuff is invaluable. So you don't have to focus so much on the data after that. Once you set up your perfect list, it can be automated.
Okay, so once you set up your perfect list, it can be automated. Now here's a big question too: the actual phone numbers, right? Because to me, that's the holy grail, right? Like without the phone number, if I'm calling somebody, I mean, I can send them a mail. I feel like it's passive, right? But if I get someone on the phone, I've got a pretty good shot after thousands of calls, right?
Yeah.
To at least build some rapport, add some value, maybe see if there's an opportunity to close for a meeting, find them a deal. So talk about just the accuracy of the phone number.
Sure. We're constantly, there's over a billion emails and phone numbers, and they're constantly being updated. A very embarrassing story. I didn't even know that Property Radar had that information because I had set up info to automatically get delivered to us based on mailing address and flippers as a hard money lender in California. And I had no reason to log in. I was getting exactly what I needed. Yeah, phone numbers and emails. Now, I want to cover this for properties that are 2 to 4. If you have more sophisticated investors that do trusts or corporations, you're going to have to do a little bit of work. We don't see through the LLC kind of stuff, but there's a lot of people that you'd be surprised still own 2 to 4 in their personal name. Comes sometimes because they're getting a loan, and that's hard to do in a corporation if you're trying to, qualify. So it's there, and it's constantly updated several times a year, and of course that changes with sales data.
Okay, so that's good to know. That's great disclosure, right? Because I'm looking at listing like a 50-unit apartment complex, and it's an LLC, and there's people out of state, different phone numbers, different things. So I mean, I've developed that relationship for 10 years, and they're probably going to be using as a deferred sales trust as a backup plan, or they're going to do a 1031. We'll see if we can find a deal. But the point of all that is Property Radar, individual names, gold. But what you're saying is it's not going to be able to go that next level into an LLC. Is that a fair summary?
Correct. Yeah. Sometimes we'll have the trust info. If we sometimes we'll have that, but the corporations, not a lot of our investors who are investing in single family are. That's not the wheelhouse. That's not our specialty. But there's a free way to do it. You just go to the California Secretary of State. There's ways to find it. I have an article that the 4 free ways. If you're not doing it on a regular basis, skip tracing corporations can get very expensive. So there's some free ways to do it. Takes a little bit more legwork, but
Well, and that's part of when you hire that virtual assistant, right? Where you're like, okay, so you start X, Y, you work that, and then you come into the roadblocks for the ones that you don't have. Then you have them work the Secretary of State website and then do the skip tracing. Is that what you would recommend?
Yeah, correct. So, and again, what if you find out if you're creating your perfect list, you will have identified the exact property, square footage, land size, all that within Property Radar. There's a lot of different site property characteristics that you can search by too. So, maybe you don't want to invest in multifamily that's 150 years old because let's be honest, it's very frightening and expensive.
Yeah.
But,
No, that makes perfect sense. That's really helpful. Okay, so you develop your perfect list, you set up the automations, and you start to get these leads that are coming in, right? Opportunities, right? So now, what is Property Radar at that point? Is it mostly just generating that data and those leads, or what else would be a good way to use it?
Another thing you can do if you want to kick people out of the list, or is actually seeing the assets, maybe going a step further. It doesn't have to be you. Maybe you've got somebody on the road whose job is to go around and take pictures. One of the things that people don't realize that Property Radar can do is actually act as a property CRM. You can take pictures, take notes, and there's yours privately. It doesn't show up for anybody else in the app, but we have plenty of people that use the site as a property CRM. Maybe they pass by something, you're like, that's really close to a railroad. I'm not interested. Or maybe because you're the local Main Street professional, a development is going to explode the value of that. And you're going to go all in on a specialty list that is focused on a multifamily around a certain zone because you know it's just going to blow up. So those are the kind of things that I love Main Street to focus on because Wall Street won't. They're not focused on that local minutia that often happens way before it hits public record.
Right. And so part of what we also do is help people with high-end luxury primary homes,
Mm.
right? That because they exit and they have no 1031 option, whereas the Deferred Sales Trust could do. We used to do a deal, $8.3 million deal in Palo Alto, and it was a primary, right? So he had that 121 exclusion. He was 250, tax free, but he's single. Above and beyond that, he had like 800,000 of tax, and he's like literally like, Brett, without the Deferred Sales Trust, I cannot even sell. With the Deferred Sales, I can sell. Now I could try to move out and try to rent this thing, and then get it for 2 years, then try to move it into a 1031. But he goes, that's just a whole mess. And so, to me, what I'm thinking, and maybe if I'm not missing it, that's probably the top way to use it. Like I should go start marketing to all the luxury high end on the coastal cities of California, let's just say, start an automation. Like I already kind of know the perfect list, I already have the deal close stories, and then just start dripping on them like that. What do you think, Aaron? What does that sound like?
I love that. There's plenty of ways to do that. Within Property Radar, you can create custom lists to where you're like, hey, I only want, well, let me say this. There are specific characteristics where you want them to have a view. So you can say, hey, I only want to focus on these properties with a view here. If it's in public record, some counties don't collect everything. I'll give you an example. The Phoenix market, Maricopa County, doesn't list the number of bedrooms in public record. Very strange. Anyway, but yes, that is a perfect way you can develop your perfect list where you're only marketing to one side of the street. It's totally up to you.
Perfect. Okay, I like that. Man, I'll have to check out that offline with you. What I'm curious on the people probably wondering about the cost. What's like the cost for this?
It's under $100 a month. And
Okay.
where you're going to add costs is if you are exporting, you can export up to 10,000 a month. And of course, if you're doing way more in your volume, there's a discount. But when you create lists under 10,000 is when it's dynamic. And what's fun about the insights that we provide for lists under 10,000 is you get demographic details. It's like who's the ownership details behind that. And then you get property details. What's the average square footage? What's the turnover of this asset type? What the prices are doing in the market. It's so nerdy. It's a game changer. I really don't understand why Property Radar is so inexpensive. I guess
Yeah.
it is. Besides foreclosure data, which it's known for, I don't think enough people truly explore that side of it for sure.
No, it's brilliant, absolutely. And so, gosh, so like $100, and then you have like, as far as like ongoing, like if I were to hire a virtual assistant, like ongoing, besides setting up the perfect list, setting up the automations with the Zapier into your CRM, and then the drip campaign. Like, let's say that takes 20 hours to set up. I don't know, right? What needs to be done on an ongoing basis?
As long as you've got a way to monitor the data, like it depends on where the data is going in your tools. Like as soon as something sells, you want to get notified, and there's a way to do that. So in Property Radar, you can say, hey, an updated list, I want emailed, and maybe you can email something that a virtual assistant sees, and make sure that it's out of your other tools. That would be the only thing I'm concerned about is wasting money when the property is sold or no longer meets your perfect criteria. Just make sure it's updated. But other than that, there's a lot of automation just right there. That's pretty powerful.
Right. Okay. So I put the perfect list in, right, and then I push play, and then it starts to populate, and it starts to put it into the list, and then it automatically can kick into like an active campaign or something as an email drip, probably set to a direct mailer person that automatically has your templated thing, right?
Yep.
Boom, and
Mm-hmm.
it can just do that, and then give you a reminder too of, hey, give them a call. At the end of the month, I do it for a month. Give them a call at the end of the month. Here are the 100 people to call, right? So it's kind of like it's doing the work for you. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, and a virtual assistant can really line up those phone calls for you. So maybe they do a little bit more due diligence on the property, what it looks like. I mean, I'm very visual, so you using a tool like Trello or whatever CRM system you're using to really track these deals, kick them in or out. It's very powerful. And when you have conversations with people, you never know when you inside the demographic details. It's sometimes even their interest, their income. You can learn a lot and try to find ways to connect with people. So a good example is like, hey, if you're a veteran and you only want to look for properties with the VA loan on it, okay, that's possible because we have mortgage data, and you can try to make that connection that is very unique to you. So let's get savvy and smart about only communicating with the deals that are more likely to do business with us.
Amazing. We're talking with Aaron Norris, propertyradar.com. And this is some amazing insight. And what question haven't I asked that I should have asked?
Well, because you brought it up, I promised I was going to get a little nerdy on you. I, especially because you said Sacramento is the focus of yours, I want to quickly discuss accessory dwelling units because it's not particular to the state of California anymore. I was on a travel trip to the Northeast and they were talking about it over there. And I think a lot of markets are having affordable housing conversations these days. So accessory dwelling units, for the sake of California code, is the state code that they've been working on for years that basically says by right, whether you're a landlord or an owner occupant, you have the right to build a secondary structure to rent out or use as you please, effectively creating a 2-unit place. Now, for multifamily 2 to 4 unit, that means you get to, if you have a 4-unit now, you can create 4 extra units if there's a land and you can design it as such. So please spend the time to understand that opportunity there. I like that law because it's regulated by the state and it's well baked. It's already 2 years in the process. If you're building ADUs under 750 square feet, as an example, the state has locked it down to where you should be paying very little in impact fees. And for a complete application at the city level, you should not be facing very much in hold times. I think they have 60 days total to get something through the permit cycle. SB 9 is getting rid of single family zoning altogether, where you will effectively be able to do a lot split, and build another home and an ADU. Regardless, any lot can basically turn into a 4-unit. SB 10 is even bigger opportunity, but this is going to be driven by the city, the jurisdiction that you're investing in. You're going to have to pay attention to when this regulation comes out. It's going to hit the local counties first before it hits public records. I don't know what that's going to look like, but it allows you to build up to a 10-unit, 2 ADU, and 2 JADU, so up to 14 units on something that's zoned possibly right now as an R1 or a single family.
Excellent. Yeah, that's amazing. Rewind that because there's so much there. The biggest thing I think I take away though on some of these construction costs, Aaron, like I just go, gosh, I love that. I love that that's here. I feel like these are like 20 years too late, right? You should have had these things in place, ready to go. And then the construction has just gone through the roof. So we want to speak quickly on just what you're seeing with construction.
The National Association of Home Builders just released their data that on average nationwide, it costs about $100,000 in impact fees whenever you're building something new. So in Sacramento, what is an empty lot going for?
Oh, depending on where it's at, but let's just say 200,000.
Right. So right out the door, we're going to spend $300,000 before putting sticks and bricks up on any lot. Now we already own a lot. All of a sudden, $200,000 has gone away, and I can build an ADU. Let's say for 150 grand and rent that. What's a brand new 1-bedroom going to rent for in your market?
Ooh, brand new 1-bedroom, depending on where it's located, but let's just say $1,800.
That'll work.
Okay. So you're saying it cost me $150 to build if I had the land?
Correct.
Okay.
So as an investor, as a multifamily investor, could be targeting all of a sudden for the first time, single family on large lots, do a great design, build it to, I call it being a cram lord. You don't want to be a cram lord. Design is going to matter. I know Sacramento is very weird. I've been up there and block to block, you never know what you're going to run into. So you're more likely to see this, but there's some opportunity in single family for multifamily investors.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Very cool. You ready for the lightning round?
Let's do it.
All right. Knowing what you know now, Aaron, if you go back to your 25-year-old self with the one golden nugget, make sure to tell yourself to do.
Read more.
Cool. Which leads into our second question. What's the number one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
Oh gosh, I should know this. And it's a book by John Schaub, and it changed my life because it got me out of my head thinking I had to be something I wasn't. And I'm a landlord. I'm a house collector instead of a flipper.
Oh, cool. That's cool. I like that. It's like Monopoly, right? You can't be flipping houses. You just got to buy Boardwalk and Park Place and hold, baby. Question number 3. What are you most curious about right now?
Metaverse. I don't know how I feel about the metaverse. I'm just looking at all these and the winners and losers of social media and different crypto coins. And I'm like, okay, I mean, there's money to be made. I just think it's a huge risk. So if you have play money, I think you need to view it as it's a gamble, but there is money to be made. It's just, I'm very curious.
And for those who are wondering, if you have highly appreciated cryptocurrency in the metaverse or anything you're going to be selling, we can defer all that capital gains tax. It needs to be $1 million net proceeds, $1 million gain, but we can do it. So check us out. We're doing NFTs. We've already done Bitcoin and Ethereum. Go to capitalgainstaxsolution.com for that. Okay, next question. What's your favorite leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
Well, unfortunately, I've learned the painful way is try to think about the questions you don't know how to ask. Not to think you're so arrogant and so talented that you're going to miss something. Unfortunately, I had a very strong lesson a couple of years ago. It was very humbling and a great learning experience, one I'd like not to ever repeat again.
Thanks for sharing, Aaron. That's a great. Stay humble, stay open. Last question. After all your success, helping the people you've helped, helping grow propertyradar.com, and all the real estate knowledge, all the stuff you've accomplished, how do you stay centered in your values, and how do you stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new heights?
Finding what motivates me. My dad got a letter one time from an investor saying that not only had his education changed the life of his family, generations of his family, because his other family members and brothers were watching. We updated our family business model to creating wealth and legacy through real estate. And legacy, that piece always is what matters to me, is how are you giving back and helping other people. That just matters to me. So that's what I'm doing.
Amazing, Aaron. I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to encourage you to keep using the strengths and gifts you've been given about being great with people. You're definitely great with me today and our listeners. I imagine they're thinking the same thing, as well as working very, very hard and diving into the data to find the golden nuggets of details, the off-market opportunities, the ways to use systems to create and preserve more wealth, create that financial legacy. So keep doing all of what you're doing. And for those who want to get in touch with you, Aaron, what's the best place for them to either find you or get connected with Property Radar?
LinkedIn, probably personally. For Property Radar, just go to propertyradar.com. If you've never played around before, there's a free 3-day trial. Make sure you give yourself enough time and play. And if you get lost, there's this fantastic support team. One of my favorite features is being able to share a link with you with pre-built lists. So check out our blog and you'll see me writing and providing sample lists to where you click on the link. And if you're on a 3-day trial, opens up and you can just recreate the location and you're off to the races.
Wow. I think I'm going to get with you offline on that for sure. Aaron Norris, everybody. Thank you, Aaron, for being on the show. I also want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, also stream on Expert CRE Secrets as well, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust is the best way for you to exit highly appreciated primary homes, businesses, real estate, cryptocurrency, defer millions of tax so you can create and preserve more wealth or help others do the same. Please go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to learn more. Also, check out our free mastermind that happens every Friday. It's a Deferred Sales Trust mastermind, and we're talking about crypto, exiting real estate, exiting businesses to defer the tax. Also, check out the new book that's coming out, Building a Tax-Deferred Exit Strategy. It's my first book. I'm really excited about it, and it's a proven playbook for unlocking your ideal wealth plan when selling assets of any kind for yourself or your clients. Thanks, everybody. We will talk to you real soon, and so appreciate everyone out there. Bye now.